Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our final session of today's Training Industry Leader Talk, Developing Sellers Who Deliver Results, sponsored by Allego, Corporate Visions, Huith International, the Brooks Group, and Lone Rock Leadership. So I'm Liz Spate, the Events Marketing Specialist here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us here today. Again, before we get started, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speaker and get the most out of today's session. So as always, please continue to use that chat window for any comments as well as questions. From the Allego team, we have Marcus here to help address those questions throughout today's session, so please do not hesitate to plug them throughout. And we'll additionally have some time at the end to address those as well. Once the session ends, a brief survey will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to share your feedback on today's session, the speaker, and overall just today's event. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us that will include a link to the on-demand program for you to share with your team. Now, if this is your first event with us, we would love to welcome you. And if so, we exist to make connections among learning and development professionals, and we offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, magazine, conferences, research reports, our membership, and our podcast. We would additionally love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platform so we can continue the conversation. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to David. David is an innovative and proven leader who delivers rapid growth with exceptional results with over 9 years of experience as a sales development professional. So with that, David, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have 9 years of SDR leadership, but I've been in this game for quite some time. So can everyone see my screen? We're good?
We're
Marcus?
good. We're
All
good.
right. All right. So we're here to talk about how great leaders develop sellers who perform. When I told my team that I was going to be doing this, they said, "Why'd they pick you?" Oh, let's just joke, kick us off here. So appreciate everyone joining. I know it's been a long day for you. We'll try to get you out of here quickly. We got a lot of content, but I'll try to move quickly. So today we're here talking about something that every sales leader is trying to figure out right now. How do you consistently build sellers who perform? And not just your 10% or the top 10%, but across your entire team. Because most teams don't struggle with talent, they struggle with consistency. And that's what we're here to break down today. These slides work for me. So some of you may already have a question, and that question may be, why do you want to listen to me? And that's a fair question. So I want to give you a little context on who I am. I know that Liz already did that, but I'll give you a little more. Or in sales term, a quick credibility statement. So I'm David Ashe. I've been in SaaS sales for 20 years, like I said, and today I lead the global sales development team here at Allego. I've been an individual contributor over those 20 years. I've sold SMB, mid-market, enterprise. I've been a sales manager, and now I'm a sales leader because I really love to develop young salespeople, or green salespeople, I should say. And I'll be upfront, I'm not a guru. I don't have this all figured out. But what I do have is a really unique vantage point working here at Allego, because we work with a lot of sales leaders and enablement teams. So I get to hear what's working, what's not, and what people are trying. And honestly, I steal a lot of those ideas and I bring them back to my team to make my team more successful. So that's one perk of the job. So what I'm going to share today is really what has worked across different organizations that are in different industries and what we're applying ourselves. Before we jump in, quick housekeeping. Feel free to drop questions in the chat or the Q&A at any point. I got my right-hand man, Marcus, here, help me keep an eye on everything that comes in. So we'll either address things live or make sure we get them to at the end. We'll also share the recording afterwards in case you want to revisit anything or share it with your team. And today is meant to be interactive. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm going to pause. If you do have questions, please don't hesitate to engage, react, or drop thoughts in as we go. And to make sure everyone has the ability to ask questions, let's run a quick poll here to make sure everything's working on your end. Now, the question is, how would you describe your sales or your team's overall sales performance today? And we swear we're not going to go poll heavy on y'all.
Yeah, it was the only poll, so Get your answers in now. We've got pretty good participation so far, up to 44%. I'd love to see everybody participate. So if you got multiple screens, it is on one, I promise. Go ahead and fill out A, B, C, D, or E. If you have F, add it to the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. I'd love to comment on it. So again, as we kind of go through this presentation, I'm in the background. And get your questions in the Q&A panel or the chat, and I'm going to get those answered by David if I can't answer them myself. How about that? Let's go ahead and end this poll. We got about 85% participation, so not bad here. David, you should see the
Yeah.
results pop on your screen.
Hey, congratulations to that 5%, that high performing consistent. How are you doing that? Put that in the chat so we all can learn from you because one of the things we're going to hit on collaboration, sharing is caring to us. And then 14% strong at the top, less consistent overall. And the majority is mixed performance across the team. And that's what we are seeing across most teams. And that's why we're addressing this today or having this presentation today. You got some strong performers, but not always consistent across the entire group. And that's really the challenge for leaders. But that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. We look at high performing sales organizations, and there's always these three things that consistently show up, and that's confidence, collaboration, and competition. And great leaders are very, very intentional about building all three, not just hoping it happens. So the reason why this matters right now is the environment has changed. When I talk to my team about the struggles they're going through and the roadblocks that they have, it's much different than when I was growing up in sales. Only 25% of sellers are exceeding quota, and it's not because they're not working hard. And if only 25% were hitting or exceeding quota when I was growing up in sales, the majority of the sales team would have been let go. But this game is different. Buyers are more informed. Deals involve a lot more stakeholders, and reps have less time to make an impact, while expectations are very, very high. So, what happens? You get a gap between what buyers expect and how prepared sellers actually are. That's why that's why we're seeing inconsistencies. It's not a talent problem, it's a development problem. And the old model, train once and hope it sticks, just doesn't work anymore. This is where the three C's come in. And I know a lot of the presentations earlier were about frameworks. I just want you all to think about the three C's. So if you leave with anything, the three C's. If you want peak performance across your team, not just your top 10%, you have to build this intentionally because performance doesn't scale by accident. It comes from the environment you create as a leader. You control that. You're the leader. You create the environment and you get help from your team to help create it, but you're the leader who creates it. So there are three things we consistently see in high performing teams. First, confidence. This is what drives execution. When reps are confident, they don't hesitate. They lead conversations, they ask better questions, and they actually move deals forward. Second is collaboration. This is how learning scales. Instead of everyone figuring it out on their own, like we had to do back in the early 2000s, just aged myself there, I know. Your team is sharing what works and getting better together. And then third, competition. This is what drives continuous improvement, not just rep versus rep, but the mindset of getting better every single day. Me versus me. I'm 1% better than I was yesterday. That's how you're going to continue to drive that.
David, I
All
just
right.
added a quick little chat just to get people going in the chat. If you had to pick one, which one do you think is the most important for your team? So let that kind of ride for a little bit, and I'm gonna let you run through the presentation. But just wanted to
Let
give
that
you,
simmer.
yeah,
Let
let it
that simmer in the
simmer. We
stove.
got one so far, confidence. So
All
keep
right.
going.
There we go. All right. So what's working for the modern sales team? So what are leaders actually doing differently? They're not just running training programs anymore because training alone doesn't change behavior. Instead, they're building environments that drive performance every day. They're putting systems in place that build real confidence, not just knowledge. They're creating a culture of collaboration where reps learn from each other, not just learning from an enablement. And enablement is very important, but you all have a lot going on during the day, and they're creating environments where improvement is constant, not occasional. That's the shift from one-time training to continuous development, and from hoping reps improve to actually building systems that make it happen. I need one of those clickers to make the slides go instead of having to keep hitting the keyboard here. All right, so anything that came up in the chat before I move on?
Yeah, so most people are saying, well, three people, Robin, Lauren, and Yazid, um, all said collaboration, and Steve came in first with confidence. So
Yeah.
it is funny how both of them can go together, but collaboration seems to be the winner so far.
Yeah. If you ask me, I think all three gel well together. That may be biased though. All right,
And
let's
I'm gonna
start
get
with
you a
confidence.
clicker. I'm
Hey,
gonna
give
get
me a
you a
clicker
clicker.
here. All right, let's start with confidence. At the end of the day, great sellers perform because they believe they can, right? The yes, I can. Yes, I can. They have a little Thomas the Tank inside of them. And you can see it immediately in conversations. When confidence is there, reps lead the conversation. They're clear. They ask better questions. They move deals forward. When it's not, even really talented reps hesitate. They second guess. They hold back. They delay. And ultimately, they miss opportunities they probably should have won. And the key thing to understand this, confidence isn't just a personality trait. Yeah, some are born with it, but it can be built. It has to be built if you want a high performing sales team. So, what do the top sales organizations build? They build continuous learning systems. And what separates top organizations is they don't rely on the one time training. I remember when I was growing up in sales, it was you were put in a room for about 4 days. They fed you pizza. And then on day five, they said, all right, let's see if you sink or swim. But because the top sales organizations know that training alone doesn't stick. Instead, they build continuous learning system. Confidence comes from structured onboarding. So reps start with a strong foundation. If you don't have a strong foundation, how do you build off of that? And then it comes from ongoing reinforcement. So skills don't fade over time. So we call that in the beginning, you have onboarding. And then after that, you have everboarding. You're always getting a chance to get better and learn. But most importantly, it comes from practice before real conversations because best teams don't let reps learn in front of a customer or a prospect. They make sure they're ready before they get there. If you can see, I have some flags in the for my father and my grandfather. So I have a military background. Something that stuck with me that my grandfather told me, and how to get better with practice. And it's the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So the more practice you do, the better you're going to be ready for when you actually have to go to his for battle, but on the phones. Or, the Les Brown thing, practice makes improvements. You want to make sure you're getting enough practice, setting up safe spaces for them to try things before actually going out and doing it on their own. All right, so let's talk about onboarding. In the past, onboarding was pretty simple. Learn the information, then go figure it out. It was basically trial by fire, exactly what I had to do when I was growing up in sales. You go through training, then you're thrown into real conversations and expected to apply what you learned. And for some reps, that works. I was one of the lucky ones. I figured it out. But I started with a class of 15, and I think maybe only 7 or 8 of us actually made it through. High performing sales teams do this differently. They don't just focus on knowledge, they focus on application because it's not enough to know something. You have to be able to demonstrate it. That's why the best onboarding programs are structured. They include micro learnings so reps can digest the information in smaller pieces. Who in the chat knows this phrase? And I say it to my team probably monthly. Don't eat the elephant in one bite. Break it up into smaller pieces. It's easier to digest. And then quizzes to reinforce information. You can learn something. And I've had a lot of reps that I've hired back in the day just stare at the screen. But when they were put in front of the quiz, they didn't actually understand how to answer it. So you need those quizzes to actually to understand if your people are understanding the information and they can answer a simple question about the information they were taught. And then back to practice so they can actually apply it and use real world simulations. So they're prepared before they get into that live conversation. So that's how you build confidence early and set reps up for success. And that's what we see our top sales teams that use Allego do. And I was lucky enough to see or talk to some of these people, and that's what they're doing on a daily basis or a monthly basis, I should say. But this is one of the biggest gaps that we see when it comes to practice. Reps are expected to perform in real conversations without enough practice beforehand. And what happens? They end up figuring it out in front of the customers or not figuring it out. So I'd love to ask the group a question here. What happens to someone when they fail early? Simple question. What happens to them? See if we're following the bouncing ball.
Let's see. We've got learn fast, discouraged and scared, learn early, lose confidence, lose confidence. Hopefully they learn early,
Well, I love that, right?
feel defeated.
You don't fail, you learn, right? I love that. I love that approach. I never fail, I just learn. But yes, when they fail early, there's some reps that will lose confidence. And if you lose confidence early, it's really hard to get back. So, when they're expected to perform in real conversations without the practice beforehand, you know, they start to fail more often than they should. We don't we obviously want them to fail early, fail often, but fail forward. But we want to build up enough confidence that they're not totally failing in the beginning. And the top teams do this differently. They build practice into their process, right? We call our process learning through action, where you do your micro learnings, your quizzes, and then you do your practice. So it's not just you're doing the learning and the quizzes, you're actually applying it at the end. So you're learning through that action, if you will. And they're consistently working on their pitch delivery, objection handling, discovery, negotiations, because those are the moments that actually make or break a deal. And the reality is, no one should be trying something for the first time in front of a prospect or customer. That's where confidence breaks down and opportunities get lost. And nowadays, if you lose an opportunity, it hurts more than it used to. There's not a lot of people in market like it used to be 10, 15 years ago.
Priya chimed in right at the end, said you have the opportunity to coach before bad habits set in. Another good one.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Address it early, be proactive, not reactive. And that's what a lot of top teams do, right? They're more proactive than reactive. They see a problem coming and they address it, or they've seen in the past that these problems occur. So let's take action to address it before it actually occurs with this new class.
I got one more question for you, Dash. I was told that the Q&A panel wasn't going to anybody was going to use that, but Steve chimed in here. He said, "Why do you think that the old way of hardcore training for a few days has shifted?" Um, let's see.
I think it's just I think it's going to shift again for the next generation or my daughter's generation. I think the way they teach things in school and how they're being taught to learn is different than what the way I was taught to learn. I don't know if anyone has kids in math that is in like that are 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, 10-year-olds, and they're doing math. They do math differently now. They're learning different. So people learn differently, and you have to meet the learner where they are. You can't try to put a round peg into a square hole. So that to me, that's why I think it is shifting.
Yeah, I guess he went through the same old school training you did, so
Yeah,
just not working anymore that way. So
yeah. But we survived, Steve. We survived. We made it.
times
We
are
made
changing.
it. All right, this is where I get to talk about Allego, even though I have already. But Allego, this is where we can help as a platform. So Allego allows you to scale learning, practice, coaching, feedback while making development continuous and measurable. And yes, you're going to say it's because I work here. I wouldn't be as successful as I am today if I didn't have Allego. If I didn't have a system like Allego that allows me to do the things that I do with my team. So instead of one-time training, you can deliver micro learnings, short, focused content that reps can revisit when they need. Instead of me having to answer a question, I say, just go into Allego. There's a little course on it. There's a 2-minute video. Go watch that. So I do that a lot when I feel like my reps are dropping confidence and they're like, I just don't know what to do here. It's like, well, go watch that short little video on it. Remember how you did it. Go listen to a call. You've done it before. You've been there. You can get there again, but take your time to go digest that micro learning. And then that's where it gets reinforced. And that's where over time it starts to stick. And where it really changes the game is the AI powered simulations. Reps can practice real scenarios before live conversations with instant AI feedback on what they did well and where did they improve. So no longer do we have to take time out of our day to do role plays, or I have to wait for a recorded call and then go grade it myself. AI is helping me do that and scale my coaching. To be honest with you, it's a lifesaver. So instead of guessing if they're ready, they know exactly what works on before getting or going live with a customer. We don't allow any of our reps to get on with our customers or our prospects until they've shown they can handle a conversation using multiple simulators, because we have different simulators for different scenarios, and they have to go through those and prove they can do it before they go live. And then that's how you build real readiness across your team. All right, trait number 2, collaboration, which is one of my favorite things. I believe you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. One of my favorite quotes, I think it's a rich dad, poor dad one. If you want to go somewhere, talk to someone who's already been there, collaborate with them. We all should have mentors to help us go where we want to go or wherever we want to get. But why is it important in a sales team? Because one seller's experience can help the entire team, but only if it's actually shared. In most organizations, what happens is your best reps figured it out, what messaging is working, how to handle objections, and how to position value. But that knowledge usually stays with them or the sales leader, and everyone else has to figure it out on their own. So, another question for the group: how many of you feel your organization shares sales best practices efficiently today? Let me say that again so it made sense. I don't think that made sense. How many of you feel like your organization shares sales best practices efficiently today? I didn't do my tongue twisters for this. Sally
Yeah.
sells seashores.
Maybe give a couple points of how you've kind of transitioned and what's worked, what hasn't, while we got people um, adding to the
Oh,
chat.
I'm going to do that later. Don't worry.
Oh, it's coming later. Okay, all
This
right.
is where I'm supposed to get my break.
Oh. All right.
All
Let's
right,
see.
you can drop it in the
So,
chat there.
got a couple here. So, not enough at all. Difficult to get people to wish to share. I think that it's the one thing we do well. It's our primary way to train. Barbara, chime in. Let us know your tips and tricks.
Yeah,
I
share.
feel
And sharing is caring.
Yazid has said they have much more room for improvement. On a scale of 1 to 5, Steve said he's at a 3. I think we're within their specific regions. They do, but okay, so in his small, Robin said in their small groups um they do it well, but company wide needs improvement. So
Yeah,
that's what we see that a lot too, actually, with other customers. So
I agree with that. I was in a sales organization. I won't name the name, but there were like little cliques, and you had to get welcomed into the clique for them to share what was working and why they were so successful. Um, Fast forward, I wasn't invited into that clique, unfortunately, here. All right, let's get back into it. Because that is what we're seeing. It's not just it's not being captured or scaled, and that's a huge gap. I mean, you have these really talented, smart people in your organization that are doing well, but they're keeping it to themselves, and it's not helping your organization. The best teams don't let success stay isolated. They turn those individual wins into team-wide learning. So think about this scenario here. A rep closes a deal. In most organizations, that knowledge stays with them. But top teams do it differently. They do something very differently than those other organizations. They capture it. They record what worked. We all have Zooms. We're all on Zooms, Teams, Slack, uh, AOL Instant Messenger. I don't know if that has a recording feature actually, but they record what worked, what objections came up, how they position the solution, and what ultimately moved the deal forward, because every deal has a lesson in it. Now, instead of that win living with that one rep or that sales manager or the CRO or the CEO, it becomes a learning opportunity for the entire team. And that's how you start to scale success. You take what your best reps are doing and make it repeatable across everyone else. And this is where it gets really, really powerful. So I'll give you a scenario that actually we do. That win story, that rep closed that deal. It's shared out with the organization. Another rep watches it. They use AI. Yes, I'm going to work in AI here. And they turn it in. They go to like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Claude or whatever you use, genspark.ai, and they do a prompt and say, take this win story and turn it into a feel, felt, found story. So we all know the best sellers are the best storytellers. So they take that win story, they turn it into a feel, felt, found, and then they use it at the beginning of the sales cycle. And others take it and they use it mid funnel. And the others take it and they use it down funnel to help them be more successful. So they're using that insight on their next conversation. But what's happening underneath all of that is trust is being built. Trust in the message, trust in what works, and trust in how to handle real buyer situations. So now reps aren't guessing what to say. They're using proven approaches from their peers. And that's how you turn one win into 20 wins. Not because you trained it, but because your team is learning from each other in real time. Same thing with internal expertise. Again, you have a lot of smart people in your organization. You always have reps who are great at something. I have reps that are fantastic at prospecting, some that are fantastic at messaging, some people that have high TQ, right? Technology intelligence, and they know how to use them more efficiently than most. But in most organizations, that expertise stays siloed. Instead of enablement building everything from scratch, top teams tap into their own people. One of the things that I hate is I hate seeing institutional knowledge leave the company without being captured. If I have someone who's really, really smart or really, really great at something, I sit down and say, hey, before you leave, can you make an Allego on how you did that? And Allego is in a video that we upload into our LMS, which is Allego, and share it with a group. So those reps create content. They share how they approach things, what's working, what's not, and now you capture real world best practices, not just theory. And the impact of that is huge because it's coming from the people who are actually doing the job, the people who are in the trenches. I try to tell my people what to do. They listen sometimes, right? They're like my kids. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. No, if they're on here, you're not my kids. Don't worry. But when they hear it from someone who's actually doing the job, it has more weight to it. So it's more relevant, more credible, and easier for the rest of the team to adopt. And that's how you start to scale what your best reps are doing across everyone. Marcus, anything on collaboration?
Well, actually, let's see. How do you create that environment? I can't, Karina, um, yeah, how do you create that environment and share the situations?
So the way I created it when I first got here, I built out a progression program, and I want to pay people to learn and get better. And that progression program has micro promotions and micro increases to their base and variable because they're salespeople. But it's not just based on their performance. It's based on what they're learning and how they're applying it. So some of the objectives in the progression program are show me that you learned this. Show me how you're prospecting to get to your number. Talk about a deal that you had that went from meeting scheduled to closed one. Talk to me about how you handle the 5 objections that you run into on a daily basis. And I actually just use some of that in I coach some interns from Babson College on sales. And it's not just used internally, but I'm helping Babson students get better at objection handling. And it's all from this progression programming. I'm not forcing my team to do it. I'm saying if you want to get more money and you want a better title, Everyone gets lucky. You can hit your number 4, 5, 6 months in a row or even a year. But I want to see consistency. Consistency is the key to success. So you have to be consistent over 3 to 4 months, and you have to be consistent in your learning. You're either growing or dying. And to me, I want to see my team continue to grow and learn.
And one thing too, just out of Allego, actually, some of our customers um, try and drive adoption through higher ups, right? So like Dash is looked towards as a leader in our company. So if Dash is using something like this, then others will use something like this. And if you can prove the ROI, the metrics, and all of that data behind it of the success and share that success with the rest of the team, this is a good segue for your next slide, is it builds a little competition, but it's also not competition from a you win, I would lose versus building up a team, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. You got any other comments on that? But there's definitely a couple different ways to get buy-in
It
through
always
this.
stop it always starts with the top. If the top's not willing to do it, then the bottom's not. I try to share out as much information. I have a growth mindset, I think, and I love to go out and learn new things. And I'll give you a simple thing that I shared to kind of help others within the organization. I don't know if people still like to type. My fingers are getting a little tired of typing, and I'm used to voice to text on my phone. So on my PC, I learned that if you hit the Windows key and the H key, it brings up voice to text. And I made a video on that and I shared it out with some of the people within this organization with Allego. So again, your leaders need to step up and start to learn. They got to their position for some reason or other. They should be the ones saying, hey, let me help others get where I am, and I'll share what's made me successful. But this is where Allego helps scale collaboration. It gives teams a way to capture knowledge, share it, organize it, and actually reuse it. So instead of insights getting lost or in conversations or buried in tools, they become accessible and repeatable. And one of the biggest impacts is it just doesn't help them today, it helps future reps. So one of the first things that one of my mentors told me is do not stop thinking in the now. Always think about the future too. You want to make sure you're successful now, but how is this going to help your future reps that you bring on? If you're not setting them up for success right now, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. So one of my things is I make sure I capture that information when new reps come on. They have that information. They're already ahead of the game than the reps before who started before them. So in enablement, you're able to build a library of real world experiences. What's working, how deals are being won, how top reps are selling. And that becomes incredibly valuable for enablement because instead of guessing what content to create, you're building training based on what's actually proven in the field. So now your best reps aren't just performing, they're helping train the next generation of sellers. And that's how you create a system that gets stronger over time. And I'm trying to fly through this because I know we're coming up on time here. Any other questions before we move on to competition?
You got about 10 minutes.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, we're good till
Okay.
yeah. You're about 10 minutes every section, so you're good.
Got it. All right.
You're good. Don't no
All right.
stress.
All right. Trust, trust. All right. So competition. It's one of my favorite things. And, when we think about competition, we always think about, oh, you're competing against someone else. But it's not in that way, what most people think, because traditional competition is rep versus rep. That only motivates your top performers, those people who have high will. And for everyone else, it can actually be discouraging. So when you're running those sales contests, and I'm guilty myself. I love gamification. I wrote a book on being an SDR leader, and one of my frameworks, the G, is gamification. I'm a huge proponent of it, but it doesn't always work for everyone. You have to meet people where they are. So the best leaders shift this to something much more powerful. A me versus me. Am I improving? Am I better this month than I was last month? Am I progressing in the areas that matter? Because that's what actually drives long-term performance, getting better every day. The me versus me. So the best teams out there have healthy competition. And this is where leaders can start to build that environment. You induce structure around development, skill certification, practice competitions, sales challenges, learning milestones. But the goal isn't just activity, it's progress. So giving your reps a clear way to improve, clear goals to hit, and a sense of progression in their own role, that's where you start to see development. And it's development that's not forced. It's something reps start to lean into because they can actually see themselves getting better. It's like when you go to the gym. At first, you're not impressed. You're doing your cardio, you're doing your anaerobic. But as you start to continually to go and set goals and you start to look in the mirror and then summertime comes, you're like, wow, I'm making improvements. And then I want to continue to do it. And I don't, then I get addicted to the gym. Or maybe I just did. Used to. Now I'm a father of two, and that's long gone. All right. So also in competition, you're going to use data to drive competition, and this is one of the most important pieces. It's the visibility because reps can't improve what they can't see. Top teams give reps visibility into how they're developing every single day, not just results, but behaviors. How many practices has the rep completed? How many calls have they listened to? How often are they giving feedback to your peers? And that's another thing about collaboration. I'll kind of circle back to collaboration is the best thing that you can do is have peer-to-peer coaching. Install some sort of meeting or monthly cadence of where you have your peers give your peers feedback or give your reps give their peers feedback. Your coaching or your reps are becoming coaches. Also, how often are they scoring in simulations? Are their AI scores improving over time? Now development becomes measurable, and more importantly, it becomes personal. All right, almost done here. So how does Allego empower growth? And we're almost done. You don't have to hear my lame jokes anymore. We're almost at the finish line here. So this is where Allego really brings it to life. Reps get a clear view of their own performance through skill mapping, like a spider web on where they're strong and where they need to improve. If you think about it, they have that me versus me mentality where it's like, oh, I'm really strong in this corner, but imagine if I could improve where I'm at 60% and get it up to 100%, that'd be amazing. And then they set little goals to achieve that. So they can see how many tasks they completed, how much they've practiced, how they're performing in simulations, how their AI scored calls are trending over time. Are they going up, they going down, or are they staying consistent? They're earning badges, hitting milestones, and even setting personal bests. And then the greener generation or the newer generation coming into sales or that's already in sales, I call them the video game generation. They grew up on video games and they're used to those things. And the video game to continue, and they play the same video game for many, many years, but they're getting those accomplishments. They're tracking their stats. They're getting different badges they earn by playing as many hours that they have or completing different levels that they do, but that's what they're used to. So again, meeting your learner where they are, or the employee where they are, transition their life or what they do their outside of work, inside of work. And then so now they're not just competing against the person next to them, they're competing against their previous bests. And that's what creates the true growth mindset, because now reps are setting their own goals and pushing themselves to improve every month. So bringing it all together, great leaders don't just manage pipelines. They build environments where sellers thrive through confidence, collaboration, competition, the 3 C's. So when you get these right, you don't just get better reps, you get a high performing team. All right, first off, thank you for sitting through this. Hopefully I didn't stumble too bad. Hopefully you took at least one or two things away from this. But if this resonates with you and you're seeing it in your organization, happy to connect and share how other teams are putting this into practice. But I really appreciate your time today and looking forward to any questions.
Yeah, as we get questions coming in, there is a survey, I believe, at the end. Let us know how we did. David and I look at that extensively and try and figure out what we need to talk about in our next Leader Talk. So if you don't know if you can't see the little badge for him, he's number one. All right, he's the number
Number one.
one leader. Leader Talk.
Sometimes you got to be your biggest fan. But
Yeah.
no, I love feedback. Feedback is a gift to me. I know I'm not the best speaker. I know I'm not the best presenter, but with feedback, it gives me a chance to improve and deliver a better presentation next time. So if you do have the time, I would appreciate it.
And we've got the QR code on screen. I've added in David's LinkedIn. So check them out, connect with them, ask questions. The link to the digital rooms in that QR code. And we've got the slides, we'll have the recording, some free resources, and all the other leader talks David's done are in there as well. So if you missed one, check them out. And then I added your book in here too. Just if you've got an SDR team, it's a good little read. So click the link and you can check out David's book. Let's see. So we've got a couple. Yazid said, Awesome delivery and presentation from you two.
Oh,
Robin
I
really
appreciate it.
liked
Thank
this
you.
and loved the methodology. I like how personal this program feels. PS, feel better.
Thank
The
you.
three C's was a great way to simplify and making it easy to remember. Thanks so much. All right, I get.
All
Well,
right.
you
Appreciate
you
that.
don't have any questions so
Thank you.
far, just praise. So
All right. All right. All right.
maybe
Yeah.
we just kick it over to Liz and we can take if they connect with you on LinkedIn, maybe we just get some questions, answer their questions there.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and I really appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, no, it was a great session. I was about to say, I was laughing at your pokes at yourself. You're too mean to yourself throughout this whole presentation. But thank you both so much. It was a great way to end today's leader talk. So thank you both. I do also have some things to share before you completely say goodbye today. Thank you again to all of our dynamic sponsors, Allego, Corporate Vision, Wraith International, the Brooks Group, Lone Rock Leadership. We had some really great sessions today. All of our sessions are pre-qualified for a credit hour by SHRM, HRCI, ISPI, and CPTM. So CPTM, if you are, you can just track those through your tracker. Although for the SHRM and HRCI, those are codes. So send an email to me or anybody on the TI team and we will send you those codes. Additionally, I would love to meet you all here in Raleigh, North Carolina for the 2026 Training Industry Conference and Expo. We do have early bird going out right now until the 31st, which is coming up super quickly. So check out that sale before it's too late. And additionally, all of our courses are on sale this month. So if you've been keeping your eye out on one, this is the month to finally take that step to further your career. And if you're interested in bundling, we also have some options for bigger discounts. So reach out to us. We would love to continue the discussion. One last reminder, that survey will pop open in another tab in your browser, and we would greatly welcome your feedback. Thank you again for everybody who's joined us along the ride today. Until next time, I am Liz, the events marketing specialist here, and it was a pleasure to be with you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I will see you all very soon. Bye, everybody.